Pastor Rob. Thank you, everybody. Thank you for the invite. People always ask me, where did it start? Gift of the Givers is not my organization. I didn't get up one morning and say, I'm going to form an organization, get some people, members, write the constitution, some founding principles, going to do number 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Never happened like that. Gift of the Givers is a spiritual organization. It's spiritually driven. Every aspect of it is spiritual. When I reflect, although the organization was formed in 1992, when I reflect, it actually comes to me that all this started in 1985. I was doing internship in King Edward Hospital in Durban, and I wanted to specialize in internal medicine. I wanted to go forward and be a specialist. But at that time, there was not much opportunities, and there was no post. So I couldn't study further. I was forced to go into private practice. But just to stop here, in life, a lot of things don't work out the way we want them to work out. We want some things, and we find it doesn't happen. We have a teaching. We don't pray for what we want. We pray for what is good for us. Because what you want may not necessarily be good for you. It's always important to remember that. Don't get upset when something don't work out. So in January 86, I moved to Johannesburg. The same week that I get to start, of course, private practice. The same week that I get there, an Afrikaner guy from Pretoria also moves to Johannesburg. He came from America, and he came to teach French in the University of Natal. My neighbor, who's a butcher, tells me this guy came and he bought some meat, but he needs a doctor. So Miller and I meet. And over a period of time, as I'm treating him, one day he opens up. He says, I need to tell you a story. He said, I was in the streets of New York, and I was feeling very, very down. I couldn't find, my mood was down, I was depressed, much like how many South Africans are right at the moment. And he says, down the road, I see a big man looking at me. I look at this man, and my soul tells me to follow this man. But I don't know this man. And he follows the man, and the man walks to St. John the Divine, a big church in America. He says when he gets in, he realizes this man is a Muslim man, a Sufi master. He then leads a zikr, a celebration of God's names in Arabic, and when we translate it in English, it will say God, the one and only, kind, compassionate, merciful, cherisher, nourisher, sustainer, and so on. He said a Muslim man was leading a Muslim prayer in a Christian church in America. In addition to that, what was even more surprising, the Jewish rabbis, the Christian priests, the Hindu pandits, and everybody else joined in the ceremony. He said he found this very, very unusual. And that brings us to a point. People say religion causes conflict. Religion doesn't cause conflict. It's adherents of religion that leave the path that cause conflict. In a very similar way, if lawyers do malpractice, is the legal profession bad? When doctors do malpractice, is the medical profession bad? When corporates do all kinds of funny business, is the corporate world bad? It has to do with people moving away from the principles of what is right and what is wrong. So, he tells me the story, and I understand something very special, which I'll explain that just now. Then he tells me, you need to go to Turkey. So I said, Mullah, now, why do I need to go to Turkey? I said, it's 1986. I still haven't seen Cape Town. When am I going to see Turkey? He said something very profound. He said, what God wills happens. There's a time and a place. And he said, the reason why you need to see Turkey, because the spiritual teacher who's in America comes from Turkey. That teacher passed away in 1985. And the new one took over, and I need to see the new one. So 91 August, my wife and I land up in Turkey. It's a long story. And when we get there, it's post-Gulf War. 16 January 1991, the first bombs fell on Iraq in Baghdad. The Gulf War didn't help It polarized nations and civilizations. Samuel Huntington spoke of the clash of civilizations. The perception was Christians and Jews on one side and Muslims on the other side. The East on one side, the West on the other side. And when my wife and I walked into the Muslim holy place, coming from an apartheid past also didn't help. And when we walked inside there, what Miller explained, we saw with our own eyes. Except the setting was different. That was St. John the Divine. This was a Sufi place, Muslim holy place in Turkey. Jews, Christians, Americans, Russians, Europeans, Australians, Brazil, Argentina, South America, New Zealand, Africa. Everybody was in a Muslim holy place. No friction, no conflict, no disorder. Everybody respects everybody. And I said, is this even possible in the world? Now, when you travel to a place as a guest, the host will tell you, how was your journey? When did you come? Did you have something to eat? Is the hotel okay? Are you fine? Do you need anything? The spiritual teacher I saw there, the new one, made eye contact with him. That very moment, something touched my soul. He didn't ask any of the above questions. He saw what I saw when I saw all the different groups, and I was confused. He said, my son, what do you see? That was his first question to me. He read my soul. And I said, teacher, I don't know. I'm confused. I see people from all different places here, and we fought with them all over the world. He says, my son, you see right. And then he explains. The explanation is exactly the same what the Christian elders lived in the St. John the Divine. He said, mankind is one single nation. The God of all mankind is one. We just call him by different names. Any imam, sheikh, priest, rabbi, Sufi, pandit, anyone who promotes violence, extremism, discord, terrorism, and conflict is not a man of God. Don't follow him. Anyone who preaches love, kindness, compassion, and mercy is a man of God. Follow him. The mindset changed. The stereotypes changed. You didn't judge people anymore of what color, what race, what church they belong to in South Africa or anywhere else in the world. It was time to look as a human being, and in no other way. So I get to South Africa, and the yearning comes again. I need to go back to this place. 6 August 1992, Thursday night, 10 p.m. I'm sitting in the same room, and the spiritual teacher is sitting that side. The people who are there in the spiritual order for years before me say what happened that night has never happened before. The spiritual teacher makes eye contact with me. He looks heavenwards, and then he says in fluent Turkish. I don't speak a word of Turkish, but I understood every single word that he said. He said, my son, I'm not asking you. I'm instructing you to form an organization. The name in Arabic will be Waqful Waqifin. Translated, gift of the givers. You will serve all people of all races, all religions, all colors, all classes, all cultures, of any geographical location and of any political affiliation. But you will serve them unconditionally. You will expect nothing in return, not even a thank you. In fact, in what you're going to be doing for the rest of your life, expect to get a kick up your back. If you don't get a kick up your back, regard it as a bonus. Serve people with love, kindness, compassion, and mercy. And remember, the dignity of man is foremost. So when someone is down in the ground, don't push them down. Hold them. Elevate them. Wipe the tear of a grieving child. Caress the head of an orphan. Say words of good counsel to a widow. These things are free. They don't cost anything. Clothe the naked, feed the hungry, provide water to the thirsty, and in everything that you do, be the best at what you do. Not because of ego. Ego is destructive. Ego is horrendous. Ego causes war. Ego causes greed and avarice and selfishness. Not because of ego, but because you're dealing with human life, human emotion, human suffering, and human dignity. And what you guys are trying to achieve, give people low-cost houses of quality, of good looks, of aesthetics, is part of that process of dignity. I told you, he spoke in Turkish. And I asked him at some point, how come when you speak Turkish I understand? When other people speak Turkish, I don't understand. He said, my son, when the hearts connect and the souls connect, the words become understandable. I said, now, what do I do for what you've told me? I'm a doctor. I'm in private practice. I have 3 surgeries in a place called Pietermaritzburg in South Africa. What am I supposed to do? He told me one line. One line. You will know. For 30 years, I don't know. What to do, how to do, what not to do, what to touch, what not to touch. It just comes to me exactly at the right time. When I walked out of that place, the very same night, not even like 2 days later, the very same night it came to me, respond to the civil war in Bosnia. The same month, I took in 32 containers of aid into a war zone. A few months later, November 1992, we took in 8 containers of winter items. The chill factor in Eastern Europe can reach minus 21 degrees or more. In 93, we designed the world's first containerized mobile hospital, a product of African technology, not Europe or America, a product of African technology, built in Pretoria, built in South Africa, and taken from Africa to Europe. The learning came from our schools, from our universities, and from our companies. How many of us believe in our country, in ourselves, in our continent? When the hospital got to Bosnia, on the 1st of February 1994, CNN filmed the hospital. And the CNN commentators said, the South African containerized mobile hospital is equal to any of the best hospitals in Europe. That was our product, our technology. In 2010, we responded to the earthquake in Haiti. 12 January 2010, 250,000 people died in 40 seconds because of the earthquake. We sent in our own search and rescue teams. We made world history. Day 8, 20th January 2010. No oxygen, no food, no water, fully covered in the rubble, fractured hip. 64-year-old Enazizi was pulled alive from the rubble in the Catholic Church by the South African team, by Gift of the Givers team. Never before in the history of the world has any African team from the African continent taken out anybody alive from an earthquake outside the African continent. We were the first. The last word on international disasters and our capability. When it comes to disasters, some people put tents, blankets, food, medicines, bottled water, hygiene packs, sanitary pads, energy biscuits, fortified foods. Some people do that. Some people do primary health care. Some people do trauma medicine, orthopedic surgeon, general surgeon, vascular surgeon, neurosurgeon, theater nurse, ICU nurse. Some people do post-op rehab, like a spinal rehab for a fractured spine. Others do trauma counseling because of the trauma involved in the situation. Some come with search teams, search and rescue teams. Some come with the dogs. Some come with medical equipment. Some come with search and rescue equipment. Some repair clinics, build houses, repair hospitals, build hospitals, put medical equipment. Some support agriculture. And if somebody is taken hostage by some group in a different area, some people do hostage negotiations with the only team in the world that does all of the above. We can get off a plane and set up an ICU and a theater on the runway. In Somalia, in 3 hours, we set up an entire hospital, including theater, ICU, oxygen, orthopedics, gynecology, pediatrics, physiotherapy, ultrasound, and everything required in 3 hours. We have the equipment, we have the skill, we have the expertise, we can do anything, anywhere. Fast forward, November 2016, I took a decision to kill all international marketing. No more marketing for international projects. because the media was too focused on the international stuff. Nobody was focusing on what was being done locally, and tons of stuff was being done locally. And then came the fire of June 2017 in Knysna. South Africans then saw our capability. We sent in 2 ladies to project manage the entire project. ShopRite checkers gave us their car park to run as a warehouse. These 2 ladies, with the help of all the CEOs and all the people in whose houses were destroyed in Knysna, came and stood in a very disciplined queue. People came with their buckies as the superlinks were coming up. Everything was being loaded in the bucky, went up the car park, offloaded, packages made, put back in the bucky, come down and go all over into Knysna and all the surrounding areas. 20,000 food parcels, blankets, hygiene packs, sanitary pads, all were distributed. We sent in our own firefighters. We supported 1,200 firefighters twice a day with food, with biscuits, with liquids, and sometimes full proper cooked meals. We sent in an advanced life support paramedics and advanced life support ambulance. We sent in our own specialist medical team. They delivered babies, moved patients from Knysna Hospital to all the other hospitals. And then somebody came and said, what about the cat and the dog? So I said, what about the cat and the dog? They said the cat and the dog is hungry. We all get out of the house, they got no food. We brought in 30 tons of cat food and dog food. And somebody said, you know, why the fire is so big? Because there's a drought here in Knysna. So we need some more help. So I said, what help you need? The cow, the sheep, the horse, the pig, the animals in the wild, and the elephant in the elephant park. All are hungry. So we supplied stuff, all of those things too. Then the guy walks into the warehouse and says, I didn't get sugar. So I say, Emily, why don't you give Grant sugar? She said, no, it's coming. So I said, Grant, the sugar is coming. He said, it's not for me. So I said, it's for? He said, for the bees. I thought Grant was drinking too much today. I said, since when do bees eat sugar? I just said, Emily, I don't know what this man's doing. I'm too busy. Just give him some sugar for the bees. That evening, I said, no, the story is not complete. I phoned Grant. I need to talk to you about this bee story. So he comes the next day with other people, and he tells me the most incredible story. He says, you see, I told you the drought was here, so there was no plants for the bees to eat. When the fire came, there were 300 beehives. Each beehive holds 75,000 to 80,000 bees. We lost 22 million bees. The Cape honeybee is the most resilient bee in the world. It can survive anything. It is haploid and diploid, meaning that if the queen bee dies, it can make its own queen bee. So I said, it doesn't explain the sugar. So he says, the bee needs to eat the plant. There's no plant now. The drought killed it. He says, the next thing you do is a nectar pollen substitute, but that's too expensive. The final thing is sugar. You make a solution and you give the bee sugar solution to survive on. I said, you've educated me. I'll give you money to grow new plants, but that's not going to happen tonight. I'll give you 300 beehives. I'll give you nectar pollen substitute. I'll give you sugar. And they had a research center that they were busy with. That research center has now grown, where children, adults, academics, university students can all come and learn about bees. They teach how to keep bees, how to look after the bees. They learn about beehives. It's a whole educational process from one event. At that very point, while that was happening, we got a call, and what I'm telling you is about how South Africans are. You see, at the current moment, everybody's worried the country is going down the drain. Nothing is going down the drain. We need to change our attitude. We need to change our thinking. I've come from war zones where the whole countries are broken completely, totally destroyed, and people come up from the ashes. We're not there yet, and we won't get there. It's about mindset change. Don't make everything a big problem. Need to take things head on and fix it. If you don't have, your mind is down, you can't do anything. Your whole physical body can't work. If your mind is strong, no matter how sick you are, you'll do something. So they call me from Sutherland. And they say, the sheep are dying, the merino sheep, because of drought, same story. 440,000 prize merino sheep. Next week it's 400,000. And then it's 350,000. And then it's 300,000. And then it's 200,000. The sheep are just dying. And the farmer puts the gun, boom, shoots his head, shoots himself. Because it's too heartbreaking to see the sheep die. Because the farmer is very attached to the sheep. And then the call comes, please, When you bring food parcels for the farm workers, can you bring food parcels for us? We can't feed our families. We took our kids out of university. We took our kids out of private school. We don't have money to put in the bakkie to go and fetch the fodder. We need fodder. We delivered millions of rands of fodder to save those sheep in Sutherland and the whole of Northern Cape. June 2018, they called and they said, now the water is gone. Everything is dried. There's no more water. Fodder without water is no good. So we sent our teams in and we drilled 238 boreholes to save those sheep and to save those farms. January 2022, one of the farmers bought this machine where you fortify the fodder. You make pallets. So it's fortified with molasses, with maize, with lucerne. You get extra value for sheep. We put that, we started funding that. For the first time since 2017, the sheep count started growing. It reached 31,000 from 440,000. And for the first time, it was turning around and going upwards. Farmers were finding their feet again. Sheep count is growing again. Workers were going back to job. This thing started before 2017. It's 5 years. They survived, and they're surviving further. We're a very resilient country. We can survive a lot of things. We can take challenges head on and survive. We have that capability and that capacity. You see, we survived the greatest disaster that could have befallen this country. In 1994, the whole world was waiting for South Africa to burn. People were stocking up food in their houses. Shops were running out of food. Everybody said, keep your passport ready. Get ready. Put food in your house. It was the most disappointing thing for international media. Nothing happened. People standing peacefully in long, snaking queues, greeting each other. Nothing happened. And in 1995, Mandela wore the Rugby World Cup jersey. That was leadership. To bring people together. To show that our future is a wise man. The future lies in us being together. Nobody in this country is going to survive if we are torn apart by race, by politics, by religion, by class. There's only one way to survive, and that is together. There is no other way. He's proven it. In 2010, when the World Cup came, we were all friends again. When we won the World Cup in Japan, we were friends again. We need to be friends all the time. Not only when there's World Cups. And we can do that. And we've proven it, and we can do that. In 2018, Cape Town had day zero. We survived that. Only problem with Cape Town is Western Cape think Western Cape, they think Cape Town is Western Cape. Cape Town is not Western Cape. There's a lot of poor areas outside Western Cape that people forget. Toes Rafid is one of them. And we're doing a major intervention there next week, Saturday, for the second time this year, where there's no medical support, where people are hungry, where the malnutrition is increasing, where there's no jobs, where all the banks have closed. South Africans have to take cognizance of the difficult situations of people in our country. 2019, we got involved in Makanda. And 2020 came the great challenge, COVID-19. They just destroyed everything. But it brought out resilience in South Africans. CEOs, medical managers, nursing managers said, how do we change the hospital around? Take all the stuff out of the theater. We're shutting the theaters down. Take the oxygen machines out. Take the monitors out. Let's make everything available to save lives. Let's reposition the wards. And everybody started applying their mind. We were in disaster mode. Corporates, for the first time, then say, my CSI is going to talk to you. How many BE points you're going to give us? You've got to fill in one form. You guys take too long to make any decision. Then they said, have you got tax PPO tax certificate? Can you give us a write-up in the media? Very good. Next year we can sleep. It's done. That kind of no thinking in CSI. And for the first time, corporate South Africa, the CEOs came to the party. They said, forget all those things. Just tell us, how can we save lives? How can we save South African lives? That's all we want to know. And I could understand that compassion and humanity came into business. When we do that, we will prosper in everything that we do. And that carried on into the unrest of 2021. It was not riots. It was not an insurrection. The country was not falling apart. On the contrary, if anything, it showed how stable the country was. You may think I'm mad. 8 provinces said, we will not allow this. Please tell me, what's an insurrection? You attack security sites, airport, lights, water. Yeah, Escom, you don't have to attack. It's attacking itself. Airport, lights, water, military, police, union buildings, parliament. That's what insurrection is all about. Which insurrection in the world do you attack a shopping mall that can't fight back? With no arms, no guns, no weapons. With a 2-year-old child, 80-year-old granny on a walking stick. What kind of riot is this? There was no riot. They were used as fodder by people I call the anti-patriots and the traitors who want to destroy this country. We have to be mindful to stop people like that and never allow them to come into power. And what they say, they're doing it on behalf of black people. Please tell me which black people benefited. Black people died in the hospital because doctors and nurses couldn't go to work. Black children died in ICU and they died in the wards. Black people lost their jobs. Black people had to pay more on taxes and pay more for food. And black people lost their jobs. Please tell me, how do black people benefit? The same game they've been playing with saying black economic empowerment. How many black people have benefited? Children are dying right now, starvation in the Eastern Cape, every single day of hunger. There's no water, no health services. What kind of benefit is this? Please don't allow politicians to lie to us, distract us. And if any politician brings race and class between us, he's a traitor and an anti-patriot. Don't allow that to happen, because we are one South African nation, one group of people, and we stand together. I told you, Mandela showed that our success lies in our togetherness. 3 days after that unrest, people stood in the streets of KZN, sharing bread, milk, water, food, together. No friction, no conflict. And if ever you saw unity in KZN and in this country, was when the floods hit us on the 11th of April, 2022. Neighbors from all different race groups took out their hands. They were first on site. Community leaders, CPF, security companies, religious leader, community leader, all stood up together. They didn't look, oh, what color you are, which area you come from. We were South African. We needed to help each other. Took people out of the houses, didn't wait for the boats, didn't wait for the helicopters, didn't wait for the divers. The ordinary South Africans stood up next to each other in all the different communities, and they helped each other. Brought the pot of food, brought the bottled water, brought the mattress, and they all stood helping each other. One nation, one united nation, and the support came from all over the country for KZN. Everybody said, we need to help our people. If ever there was a show of unity, was the KZN floods. 11th April, 11 o'clock at night, 12 o'clock at night, 1 o'clock in the morning. I'm not getting calls from people to say, I need a boat, I need a diver, my house fell down, can you help me? We need food, we need water. No, no such calls. The only calls I got was from corporate South Africa. Not about BE certificate and tax certificate. And they wanted to know, what can we do to help the people of KZN? How much money do you need? When I see that kind of sentiment, ladies and gentlemen, we are going very, very far in this country. You see, the country needs to understand that this country does not belong to the government of South Africa. This country belongs to me, to you, and 65 million people. When we take ownership, we fix it ourselves. We don't say, oh, there's a pothole in the road. Now the lights are not working. The water is not coming. This is wrong. Service is bad. 7 million people's taxes can't look after 65 million people. Whether the Canadians, the Americans, the Australians, or the Germans run this country. It can't happen. 7 million people's taxes can't look after 65 million people. It's a given. COVID didn't eat the whole budget. It ate the entire budget. The foreign exchange challenges, the fuel price, the cost of food, inflation, the wheat from Ukraine, sunflower oil, everything affected the poor and everybody else in this country. Job losses, lockdown, unemployment, everything affected us. We are in all this together. No government in the world can survive this. While saying that, we need to understand that everybody in government is not corrupt. Everybody in government is not a bad person. There's a lot of good people in government who want to do the right things. There's a lack of skills, there's a lack of experience, but there's a lot of people who want to do the right thing. And we, as South Africans, got to hold hands together to do those right things together. And that's why I'm so moved, touched, when corporates come forward and say, what do you need? You see, in the beginning, I told you, dignity. There's only one thing that will destroy a nation, is when there's no dignity. When people lose everything, when they are totally humiliated, when they feel there's no hope, there's no survival, there's nothing to lose, then everything will be lost. We have a lot of important work to do. Right now, as I told you, in the Eastern Cape, children are dying of starvation. Why? Because the old people have been hungry for years. And hunger is quite normal in the Eastern Cape. That they don't understand what hunger means to a child. So the child hunger gets to a level, when they bring the child to the clinic from rural Transkei and bring it to the hospital, it's too late. The child dies because nobody educated them that this is dangerous for a child. So we sat with the Eastern Cape Health Department and the dietitians, and we said we will go around and let's start educating the rural people about the symptoms and signs of malnutrition in a child. But whilst doing that, you need to give some kind of meals. So we started giving them a fortified peanut paste called Easy Peanut Paste. We got it from a Norwegian company that 3 years ago asked me to talk to all their bosses and give them some advice on disaster intervention. And then we forgot about it. And then this year we started buying the peanut paste. We get a call from the same company. You see, it's a spiritual thing. When you do something good, good comes back multifold. The company called and said, on your social media pages, you're using our peanut paste. We like to help you help the people of South Africa with malnutrition and hunger. We are going to send you 15 containers of the peanut paste. Value, 25 million rand. A Norwegian company, not a South African company. Not that South African companies don't give. But if other people saw the need to help the people in the Eastern Cape, you see, we sit in these rooms. We don't know the reality on the ground. We're always complaining. It's time to stop complaining. In June 2020, when we walked into a place called Paddy during the lockdown, a lady comes and takes the food parcel, and she says in a very dignified way, my son, thank you very much. Please talk to my children. They will tell you the taste of every plant in this area. For the last 3 months, my children have been eating plants to survive. Other parents said, and my children are eating tortoise and lizards to survive because there is no food. You will never get a nation more patient than this. For all the years of apartheid in 94, they came and they were patient. For 28 years, they've still been patient, putting their hope in government after government, and we've let them down. We can't let them down anymore. What would you do if your child was eating a lizard or a tortoise and eating plants? That's not acceptable. When my teams went into the dump grounds, when the dump trucks were coming, kids were not going to school. Of course, schools were shut. But they were running in the dump ground to collect a jam tin. We had to serrate it and eat it from a jam tin. Putting a finger in a peanut butter bottle and finding peanut butter and eating because there was no food to eat. They were so hungry. In one of the queues, a small child comes, barefooted, thin, torn shirt, no jersey, no hat, July, freezing cold in the Eastern Cape, comes to the front of the line and says, I won't take too much of food. Can you give me food for my mother, my father, my brother, and my sister? They haven't eaten for 3 days. The child became the sacrificial lamb. He sacrificed that somebody else in his house could eat. This is a country of gold, diamonds, platinum, and everything else, and this should happen in this country? There's something seriously wrong with the way this country is being run. This is totally unacceptable. So Nonzamo in Strand, when the lockdown happened, it was cold. It was April, but it was freezing at night. Lockdown was 8 o'clock. We had food parcels donated. And all the old people in the queue, because of social distancing, the queue becomes much, much longer. At 8 o'clock, the SAPS comes. Sorry, lockdown, close, can't do this. My guy puts the SAPS guy on the phone. I said, you can stand on your head, You can do what you want. You can jump and dive. I am not shutting this food parcel down. These old people are hungry. They cannot stay without food. To the credit of the SAPS, and we don't give them enough credit. Every guy in SAPS, like in government, is not a bad guy. There's lots of good people in SAPS who put their lives on the line. That when the children come home from school, the mother or the father's body comes there, has been shot in the line of duty. Do we ever think about them? Do we think of the SAPS diver who jumped into Henley Dam in Johannesburg to take out not a live person, to find the body of a child and an elderly man? The current came and took the lady diver away. The dog came and jumped behind her, and the dog also drowned. Do we think about people like that? When the body was brought home, there's 2 small kids at home. Nobody for the kids. The mother was gone. So the credit of the SAPS, he says, you're right. We can't leave the people hungry. Forget the rules. Government needs to think out of the box. Not must be red pen, must be green pen, must be blue pen. We need to think out of the box because government doesn't understand 3 things. Disaster, urgency, and emergency is not in their vocabulary. The policeman was clever enough and he said, you're right. He called in reinforcements. He said, let's take these old people home ourselves. They can't walk so far with a walking stick and it's too cold. So more reinforcements came. The police came, put the people in the home and took them away. The last person we gave food at 12:30 at night. And the lady said, I'm going home to wake my grandchildren up. And we said, why are you going to do something so crazy? She said, I promised my grandchildren that when I left this morning, I was not coming home empty-handed. They haven't eaten for 3 days. This is the reality of South Africa. We need South Africans to fix South Africa. We need to stand together, hospital infrastructure, education, healthcare workers, water, kids with learning disorders and Elson teachers, and housing, what you guys do, and job creation. I'll give you one example of teaching and one example of health, and just some examples about unemployment, and we call it a day. With the crisis in the health department, the government has said no new hospitals. We don't need new hospitals in any case. We just upgrade existing ones. No new staff, freeze all posts, no equipment, don't repair all equipment, and they cut the post of registrars by half, which is a serious blow to academic teaching in South Africa. It means there's no registrars, no consultants, no teaching for medical officers, no teaching for junior interns, no teaching for interns. Which way is our health system going to go? So we start talking to corporate South Africa. Let's fund 300 registers. Give the government 3 years. Fix your corruption, catch the people, attach the assets, get the money back, take them to court, give them orange overalls. We'll fund the orange overalls. We'll donate it. Make sure you put them in jail. Send a message out. But we give you 3 years to fix the system. 300 corporates, 1.2 million a year. What is 1.2 million? It's bugger all. 1.2 million a year, but over 4 years. We put 300 registrars to the program. We'll improve the quality of health. We'll train medical officers. We'll train junior interns. We'll train interns. We'll bring motivation to the whole health system. The number of people dying in hospitals substantially drop. There won't be litigation like 4.4 billion rand in the Eastern Cape Health Department because people will start living. People will see dignity. Jobs will be saved. Lives will be saved. There will be motivation to work in this country. That's one example. Second example, my wife is a counseling psychologist. She's doing internship in one school in Johannesburg. She comes to me in the afternoon, the first day, she said, we've got a big problem. So I said, what's the problem? She said, this school's got 40 kids in the class, and there's 173 kids with learning disorders. How are the teachers going to teach them? 173 kids with learning disorders in a class of 40 kids in the class. This can't work. So corporates, let's start funding Elson teachers, teachers with special education needs. Let's train them, because if it was your child, won't you want your child to have an opportunity? These kids got no opportunity. There's nothing for them. Let's train these teachers, put them in the schools, and give these poor kids an opportunity to do something. And finally, when we look at job creation, it's staring us in the face. In the healthcare sector, right now, there's opportunities for 895 paramedics available posts in the health department. No money, no paramedics. I met a private ambulance service last week. They can take 100 paramedics in one afternoon. No paramedics. Our universities are teaching all the wrong things. We need to shut down the departments that are not productive. We need to train people that we can need and fill jobs. 12,000 policemen, yes, it's a job plus it's security. If there's security, there's tourists. If there's tourists, there's hospitality industry. If there's hospitality industry, there's bed and breakfast. There's car guards, there's waiters, there's managers, there's marketing. Everything grows. We have to stop the textile imports from China. It killed the entire textile industry and hundreds of thousands of jobs were lost. Thank you, Mr. Price, Woolworths, TFG, and Truworths, starting to make local again. When you start doing textiles local again, the cotton farming industry can start. We can start farming again with cotton farming. Farmers can diversify. For the first time, our olive crop was one of the biggest in our history. So we're importing less olives from overseas. If the crops become bigger and we diversify, put macadamia nuts and other things, the farming jobs will increase. My hometown, Johannesburg, was the biggest leather industry in the country. Gone, completely gone. Why can't we restart it? The leather industry. And you guys with housing. Housing creates a lot of jobs. Skills. Guys can be plumber, electrician, or a carpenter, and it's good money to make once they go out. We just need to put our heads together, think together, work together, spend money together. No race, no religion, no class, just South African society working for South Africa for the future of our children. It's not impossible. We can do it. We have the skills, we have the spirit, we have the know-how. We can do it. Let's work together. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. So, Dr. Sooliman, these South Africans in the room, yeah, we sort of started a little collection this morning, and we sort of challenged each other during the day to see how much money we could raise to help you with all the good work that you did. And during the day, we've managed to raise 386,500 Rand.
Thank you. You see, I said we can do it. This proves that we can do that. Thank you very much. If there's any questions, I'll take them
Yeah,
this time.
absolutely. I'm sure there will be.
You can take this.
Yeah.
But, the water. Any questions? Water. Sorry.
Just going to get the microphones quickly.
What does water do? Oh, that one. Okay.
Yeah, thank you. You're such amazing work and inspired by the work that you're doing, and probably will find a way, from our quotas to try and assist. But I think one of the things that one would try and ask is, for instance, some of the stuff that you're speaking about, the relationships that you have with our social development departments and the stuff that are doing, is there any relationship in that sense? And I second what you're saying. I spoke about it earlier, that we must not be a complaint nation. There's so much that we need to do. The skills is around these rooms in terms of how we need to build and how we need to influence society. But obviously, I had a lot of questions, but my biggest question is, what are your relationships with social development? Because we always read about the budgets that they're doing, and then your analysis around issues of the social compact that industry needs to do with yourselves and the government. And then lastly, your thought process around issues of the grants that, there's this thing of the one income grant that will stimulate and assist poverty and all of that. So I'm not sure what's your thinking around that in itself. But amazing work, and we are very inspired. Thank you.
I have a very good relationship with government. We fight in the day and we have tea in the night. It's that kind of a relationship. Social development, the minister came in January, Lindiwe Zulu, to Mdansane. Floods were there and she came 4 days later. And she said organizations like Gift of the Games was wait for government. And then the media played the clip to me. And I said, madam, we're going to wait for you. People are going to die from starvation. You guys don't understand urgency, emergency, and disaster. I don't wait for you. I do what's necessary. A month later, she sent me a love letter. She said, you know, media always get it wrong. And she wants to talk. To her credit, she told me, what are we doing wrong? And she had all the NDA guys there, SASA, DGs, deputy DGs, everybody in the room and on the Zoom. And she said, tell me what's wrong. And I said, you guys, disaster intervention is a disaster. You guys have no system. There's a disconnect between national, provincial, and that's why every disaster is like that. There's a disconnect between national, provincial, and local. Nobody takes ownership. Is it human settlements? Is it social development? Is it Kochta? Is it water and sanitation? Is it national disaster? Who's in charge? And the problem is there is nobody in charge. So conveniently, when something goes wrong, nobody gets blamed. Everybody passes the blame to everybody else. I said, you got to have a system. And she said, no, we're working on it. I said, 28 years are gone. How long do you need? You know, is this the first flood that you saw? You know, I'm a very blunt guy, and you know that. But to her credit, in the end, she said, Dr. Sooliman, you are right. I said, you guys, systems are obstructive. You can't make an instant decision. Another minister called me, the same floods, and she said, I'm embarrassed to tell you, I'm the minister of this portfolio, but I can't release funds to help the people of Mandansane. Can you please help? Can you go there? I said, madam, we're already there, because we work with speed. But again, very keen to help, very honest. And I said, there's good people in government, but the processes slow things down. I phoned David Makura. I said, Mr. Premier, which kind of a law allows a clerk in the city of Johannesburg to shut down an entire hospital, Charlotte Makeke, during the wave of the Delta wave? You guys are not making any sense to me. To his credit, he comes to Charlotte Makeke, to the CEO, and he says, I'm going to break the rules, and Monday that hospital will be opened. And Monday the hospital opened. Yet not all the departments, but yet he made an effort to open hospitals. And he said, same thing, we're stuck in our processes. We don't know how to overcome our processes. Everything takes too long. That's the problem with government. If they change the processes, everybody is willing to do the right thing, to do the good thing, to help the people. So it is possible. They just have to fix the system. So it's a very, very good relationship with social development and government and getting things done in every way. You asked me one more question. The grants, yes. Any responsible government can't see its people go hungry. Everybody uses the story and says, yeah, it's making people dependent. You know, it's like you guys follow environment. And then the environment people tell us, no, you can't give bottled water. So I said, when you're in a crisis situation, and there's no borehole, and there's no desalination plant, what water are you going to drink? Let's be practical and blunt. You're going to drink seawater? You're going to drink water from the animals, or you're going to drink bottled water? Unless you create an alternative, you can't say don't do that. So if you've got an alternative to social grants, please show me. If you can do that, it's fine. But if my child is hungry, I can't tell the country, wait, look, the government is saying, oh, I'm becoming dependent, you know, I'm going to get lazy, let my child starve and die. It's not allowed. So until we can put in systems where we create jobs, employ people, open up doors, then we can say, Yole, don't need social grants. Any responsible government can't see its people get hungry. It's either a social grant or a food parcel delivery or something to that effect. But you have to take care of your population that don't have the means.
So I'm very inspired by your story, extremely inspired. So my question is, does your organization only deal with your internal staff, or anyone else who wants to, say, offer themselves for whatever reason, whatever expertise that they have? Do you work with people like that? If I'm inspired enough to want and come to offer some services in your organization that will help someone, is that something that you do?
It depends what services you're offering. You see, I have a policy. What works, I don't change. If something is working well, I don't change it. My staff are not volunteers. My staff are full-time staff. If I got a volunteer, he'll tell me on Monday the cat ran away. Couldn't come to help. You know, or he got a toothache, he has to go somewhere. That system don't work with me. We're disaster specialists. Lives depend on what we do. My medical teams, search and rescue teams, those are the volunteers. I don't need them every day. I only need them for a disaster. But I got a core team, and we build around the core team. We upskill each other all the time. which is the right temperament, a bomb falls, a bullet falls, a missile falls, how are you going to react to that? So we have a core team of people, but we're open to take new people with us. So whenever we have a disaster, my 40 core people who can run any disaster are there, but we open the door to new people. And quite often, the new people are sometimes better than what you already had before. And that's how the skills grow all the time. Same when we're going to in a situation on the ground, my full-time staff, they would work with people in different areas and tell them, let's see what you can do, and we can advise, and we can give help, and we can share information. And you say, look, I got this idea and this information. We listen to it. Because there's always something you can learn from somebody else. In the case of Ukraine, we intervened in the war. But I trained Ukrainians how to intervene in the war without actually having to go there. We showed them what to do, how to do, what to be careful of, how to operate, how to move in a war situation. Did it from here. So in every case, nobody knows everything. There's always something to learn in some category. We are always open to learn. My staff will come back and say, I learned this from somebody, good idea, good plan. And those people say, we learned something from you. So the sharing of knowledge and sharing things and doing things, we're always open to that. This side.
Thank you, Dr. Sooliman. Two things. Firstly, if you can just tell us donations, how it works, or do we just go to your website? And then secondly, not being sarcastic, any help to our politicians?
Any?
Politicians, no, just interventions with our politics. Without, not tongue in the cheek, serious, because there's a lot of help needed. And just good programs, training, you're the clever guys. Yeah, you must think of it. Yeah, please, answers.
We have a policy, we don't ask people for money. The spiritual teacher told me you will never look for money, and we don't look for money. People come to, I didn't ask you to set up this collection today. You did on your own. People come to us from all over, bringing money to us. People love what we do. So he said you will never look for money, and people will come from all over. We're in a fortunate situation that we have to give the corporates a number to tell them when we can talk to them, not the other way around. Because we don't do half a job. We only tell you to wait in the queue, because what we do thoroughly. In terms of politicians, yes, we speak to them, we advise them. I have 4 important principles. For politicians, for the corporates, for me, for religious people, for all people in South Africa. We have these 4 principles: spirituality, morality, values, and ethics. If we apply that in everything that we do in our life, we will make this country a much better place, where you come in to serve not yourself, but the people of the country who are so dependent on you. In terms of projects, I got hundreds of projects. Right now, infrastructure upgrade for hospitals, not building new hospitals, existing hospitals. Catch-up surgery in Grooteskiet, in Easter River, in Macaws, in Tygerberg, in other areas where people are waiting for years for operations. Outreach programs like what we're doing in Toesrivier. Again, my guys are so sharp. Those people are hungry for months. The soup kitchen was feeding 300 people. It's now feeding 1,500 people. The banks, the shops, everything is closed. So every month we're doubling the amount of stuff we're giving to people so they can survive. So when they're ill, they can take their medication. When, in February, we were there this year, one of my team members went to the school. It was time to give out stationery. So we gave the food and the stationery. Whilst watching the stationery, he saw a child crying in the hall in the school. And he asked the principal, why is this child crying? And the principal said, the child got a toothache, but he's got it for weeks. So they asked, where's the dentist? And they said, there's no dentist. There's no medical care. There's no proper medical help. There's no ambulance. They got no money. They can't take a transport. They can't go to Worcester Hospital, which is the furthest, and they suffer with all kinds of problems there. It's not one child, it's hundreds of children with tooth problems, and they cry and they sob. He called me whilst he was there. I phoned my medical team and I said, we've got 7 days. We're going to move in an entire multidisciplinary team into Toesrivier. Gynecologists, general surgeons, intensivists, pulmonologists, dietitians, physiotherapists, and the rot. We saw close to 2,000 patients. 500 kids we pulled out teeth of. And you know how desperate they were? The child was standing here, the dentist was there. And this child is watching the dentist pulling out the tooth of the other child. And when you see the child scream, they get scared. But they jump. Immediately the child goes, he jumps in a chair. He said, it's better to take the pain of pulling the tooth out than to see the pain that we're living in. And each child, 4-year-old, 5-year-old, walked in alone, without a parent, because there was so much of pain in the tooth. What was heartbreaking was what we didn't prepare for. People came for glasses. Old lady for 3 years is totally dysfunctional. She can't read. Not because she's got cataracts, just because she doesn't have glasses. She can't read the medication. She takes the wrong dosage. She can't make progress. She can't check anything. A child can't read the board. The child can't make progress in schoolwork simply because they don't have glasses. We're going back on the 17th. We're taking a dental team, and we're taking an entire optometry team. And we're taking ophthalmologists for cataracts. There's a huge amount of cataracts there. And they say they want HIV testing and TB testing. That's the kind of things that we do to assess the health of an entire community and help them with education, with health, with food, and whatever we can do. And when you guys are going through toast of it, please stop there. Buy something from the shop. Fill in the filling station. Bring economy back to the town. South Africans support South Africans. Let's tour local. Let's sit in our bed and breakfast. Let's buy from our shops. Let's bring the industry back.